which I believe that it's a really good karmasthana. The more you say this karmasthana, the more you understand anicca dukkha anatta, and the more you see the anicca dukkha anatta and the about the world, about the activities that we do. Because what happens is we get attached to certain things. When we see something, you take it as, oh, nice, this looks nice, although you know at the end it's gonna give you a suffering. It's mentally created, you know the theory, you understand the theory, but all of a sudden, because you are not Arihatun Wahanse, it comes as, oh, it looks good, it's nice, I feel like getting closer to it, or making it mine, or owning it, or consuming it, right? So this is what we go through practically. So when you do this karmasthana over and over again, what happens is you get used to the karmasthana, and you get the feel of the karmasthana, you get the meaning of the karmasthana, as and when you come across these kind of things, you feel like, oh, this is really good. And then all of a sudden this karmasthana comes into play, and then you're like, oh, what an idiot am I. So then you change your mind. This was a stupid thing to think about, kind of thing. So then you get used to the right way of, and right way of walking the path. Then after some time, you get used to the clear way. So some of the things you need to practice them, and then make it a habit. And after some times, that's how people have habits. They have got used to it. After a certain period of time, they get used to it, and they become a habit. So you need to make this a habit, so that it becomes second nature to you. So if you want, I can go through the karmasthana and explain the karmasthana, unless you have any other questions. Okay, let me go through the karmasthana. The karmasthana is me avasthava mohothin mohotha bindi bindi gosn vinashata patvannemaya siyalu avasthavo bindi bindi gosn vinashata patvannomaya siyalu avasthavo mohothin mohotha bindi bindi gosn vinashata patvanvima ධර්මක් ස්වභාවය කොට ඇත්තාහ මුලාවට පත් සත්වයෝ මෙවැනි අවස්ථා යහපතයිගෙන ඇලෙන්නාහුය බැඳෙන්නාහුය ගැටෙන්නාහුය සැරිසරන්නාහුය ප්‍රඥාවන්තයෝ මෙවැනි අවස්ථා නිසරුයයි දැන නොඇලෙන්නාහුය නොබැඳෙන්නාහුය නොගැටෙන්නාහුය මිදෙන්නාහුය නිවෙන්නාහුය. So that is the karmasthana. So what that means is me avasthava mohothin mohotha bindi bindi gos vinasheta patvannemaya. So me avasthava is this moment or this instance, slowly but surely comes to an end and gets destroyed. So what that means is, every moment it's not going to stay the same. Whether it's happiness, whether it's sadness, or whatever comes through, whatever goes through, you see something, it's not gonna last long. The Vedana, Diya Bubula Asarai, Vedana Asarai. So it's like a Vedana, you Vima Danenwa, you feel that, you get the feel, but it goes away. It's not gonna stay forever. So it is like that. So me avasthava, this moment will slowly change and come to an end. And then siyalu avastha, siyalu is every. So every instance, slowly but surely, will come to an end and get destroyed or finish or disappear. Right? This process, siyalu avastha bindi bindi gos vinashayata patwima dharmak svabhavaya kota atta hoya. That means this process is the real truth, or it is the reality. So that is what happened, no matter what you think. So this process of elimination, or process of finishing this instance will happen anyway. Mulavata pat sattva. Mulavata pat sattva is the person who doesn't understand Dhamma, or a person who's got delusions, mulava, and who's a prutadjanya, one who hasn't comprehended Dhamma, will take these instances as Nitya Sukha Atta Subha. He will take them as Sara, valuable. Oh, nice, very good. Let me this is really good. So that is what he feels. What a nice thing, what a nice song, what a nice smell, what a nice taste. So he will take it that way, because he will take the world and everything as Nitya Sukha Atta Subha. And then what happens is, Mulavata pat sattva මෙවැනි අවස්ථා යහපතයි ගෙන ඇලෙන්නාහුය, බැඳෙන්නාහුය, ගැටෙන්නාහුය. They will get attached to it. They will get binded by them. They will be bonded to them. And then they will try to protect it, and then they will fight for it. So those things will happen to the Mulavata pat satya, which is a person who hasn't comprehended the Dhamma. The one who hasn't comprehended Dhamma will take it as satiable. They will take it as satiable, happy. It will give happiness. It is meaningful, and then it is important. So he will attach to it and get binded by it, right? And he will walk the sansare. Alennahuya, sarisarannahuya, and he will be roaming around with it, right? Prajñavantyo. Now comes the prajñavantyo. Prajñavantyo is the person who has comprehended the Dhamma, who has got the prajñava, or the wisdom. Now this guy understands Dhamma. He knows it is anicca, dukkha, anatta, asubha. The one who comprehends Dhamma and achieve the wisdom will know that every instance is anicca, dukkha, anatta, which is insatiable and ends up with a suffering, and therefore there is no value in it. Therefore they won't attach or get or bind with it, right? Or fight for them. They will detach and not roam around with it. So that means Sarisarannahuya becomes Midennahuya. So instead of Sarisarana, instead of roaming around with it, you detach and stop the roaming. They will cool down. Nivennahuya. And then Midennahuya. Nivennahuya. Nivenna as in become enlightened. Nibbhana. So that is the meaning of this Karmasthana. I think it's really helpful. How it is helpful is, whenever you come, you keep saying this again and again and again, then you get the feel of it. Okay, So then you need to understand whether you fall under the mulavata pat satya, or the prutajjana, or the person who didn't understand Dhamma, or you fall under the prajnavanta, which is the person who has the wisdom, or who has become a sotapanna, or comprehended Dhamma. That person will see this as anicca, dukkha, anatta. So if you ever see something as nicca, sukha, atta, then you will change. No, I'm not that kind of guy. I need to see this properly. Then you will comprehend, you will use the Dhamma, you will be doing the vidarshana along with your life. Is this the right thing to do? You'll be like, no, this is a stupid thing to do. End of the day, I'm gonna end up with a suffering. This is value. There's no value in it. Although I feel like there's a value at this moment of time, because I'm thinking in a stupid way, in a silly way. But actually I know this is gonna end up in a suffering. For example, you see, you're walking by, you're a married man, for example. You walk by and a really nice woman walks by you and smiles at you. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. She smiled at me. I feel like I can be friendly with her. That's probably the first thought that comes to you. You don't want to go too far straight away, right? Then you start thinking, what am I trying to do? What a stupid thing am I thinking about? What is this gonna end up in? You married once, and you understand the suffering that you go through. You believed, when before marriage you thought, oh, this is going to be really good, everything is going to be really nice, happy, everything's happy. Yeah, you might feel like happy. I'm not saying every family life is a miserable one. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it wasn't the same after the marriage. What you expected, you didn't get what you expected. You were expecting much more than that. But after the marriage you realized, yeah, I was mad. I was like crazy. I couldn't live without this woman before. Now I'm like, oh my God, I want to stay away a little bit. I want to be peaceful. I want to just go to a corner and spend some time without anyone. So the same person, when that person sees another woman, that person comes to the idea comes, oh, this woman might be different. This is, or the last woman is a different woman. Now this woman is going to be the perfect woman. So then you need to come across the kesel kanda asarai, sankhara asarai. So it's like the banana tree. You were looking for a trunk in the banana tree. The first tree you looked at, there was no trunk. You thought, oh, no, this is the wrong tree I went for. The next one should have a trunk. Then you do the same thing. You cut it down and see there's no trunk. Then you cut the next one. You keep cutting. This is a stupid thing to do. I have been cutting these trees all my sansara. Oh, I have been going behind women all this sansara. I'm just giving an example. It is the same with everything. What have I achieved? Have I achieved the perfect woman? Have I received the perfect one? Where is the perfect one? It's in my mind. I have created the perfect one in my mind, and it's not outside. If there was any perfect one, that person has become Arihatun Wahanse. So that person is not available, unfortunately. So that is what you need to think. That is what you need to think about when these thoughts come into your mind. It could be anything. This is one of the strongest ones. When you see a woman or a man, if you're a woman, you see a man, a really attractive man, or if you're a man, you see a really attractive woman, you feel like, oh, this is the biggest trap. This is what you need to understand. They all are traps. But until you know it is a proper trap, you will get trapped. It is like the fish, right? When you're fishing, the fish doesn't know that it is a trap. Otherwise the fish wouldn't come and eat the worm or whatever it is that you have in the fishing rod, right? They only see the food, they come for the food, but end up dying because of they think it looks attractive at first, but this is the same thing that happens wherever you go. So this is why you get attached. So this samsara, the journey of samsara, is there because there are things that are attractive to you. Yan loke priya rupam sata rupam ette satanna uppajjamana uppajjati ette nivisamana nivisati. Yan loke priya rupam sata rupam. If there is something that is enjoyable, or if there is something that is that makes you happy, is what keeps you in the samsara. That is where you get attached to. Ettesa tanha uppajjati. The tanha, that is where the like or the desire happens. If it is not something that is gives you happiness or pleasure, it's not gonna create any desire in that. So whatever gives you pleasure and happiness, whatever you feel like giving happiness and pleasure, is what is keeping you in the samsara. So those are the things that you need to worry about. Those are the things you need to look out for. And how you understand dukkha or the suffering in terms of lokotara, or in terms of the arya arthya, in terms of the transcendental meaning, is anyone can understand the normal suffering that any person receives. For example, if you hit a dog, the physical suffering, the physical suffering, a dog will understand. That's pain. It's nothing to do with the pain. The dukkha satya has nothing to do with the pain, and that is something that you need to understand. It is not the suffering that is visible clearly. The suffering to do with pleasure is what they are talking here, right? Jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, maranampi dukkha, apiyehi sampayogo dukkha, idampi ampicca nalabati tampi dukkha, sankittena panchapadanakkhandha dukkha. Those are the dukkha explained. Jatipi, jarapi, maranampi, piyehi vippayogo. So those are the dukkha that is explained in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. But at the end it says, idampi ampiccan nalabati tampi dukkha. So jatipi, they say, oh, jati dukkha, the suffering of life, or the birth, they call it. In some of the books they say they name the sufferings as birth suffering. It's not the birth suffering that they are talking. Jatipi dukkha is not that. Jarapi dukkha, maranampi, the suffering of death, they say. Some of the books they say suffering of death. That is nothing to do with the suffering of death. You don't. Sometimes some people die and they don't even know they are dead. So it's not that. What that means is, at the end it says, this is explained in one of the other sutras. I can't remember the name of the sutra in detail. What it says is, jati dhammanang ausu satta evang icca uppajjati naho atamayanna jati dhammana assama. So what it says is, for every person who has a jati gets a feel, oh, this jati has to be like this. It could be birth, it could be anything. Anything can be known as a jati. In the Jati Dharma Sutra, that's how jati is explained. Jati can be your wife, jati can be your goods, jati can be your livestock, anything can be jati. So you want this jati to be like this, but the jati will not be the way you want it to be. Nako panitang ichai pattabbang idampi yampi icchanna labati tampi dukkha. So that is when the suffering happens. When they don't happen the way you like is when you suffer. You get a suffering. You want your wife to be like this, you want your car to be like this, you want your house to be like this, but they don't be like this. Then it becomes a suffering. Jara dhammanang auso satta evang iccha uppacchati. Jaravata pattya. The change that you don't like, as in if a car depreciating is jarava. Marana is the death. So death, you want the death to be in a certain way. You want your enemies to die and you don't want your friends to die. But it doesn't happen the way you want it to happen. So that is why it gives you suffering. If someone dies and if you don't like that person or if you hate that person so much, that's not going to give you a suffering. That will give you some pleasure and happiness. But if someone is so close to you dies, is when that gives you a suffering. So that is something that you need to understand. So jara dhammana, marana dhammana. So it's the same way. So this is something that you need to understand along with it. So suffering is not just the suffering that anyone can see. The suffering to do with tanha. So when you attach is when you suffer. So if you take jati, it could be jara, it could be marana. If there was no attachment, you wouldn't suffer with any of those. And the only suffering that you can get rid of is the mental suffering. You can't get rid of the physical suffering. Even Mugalan Maharahatan Wahanse was beaten to death. So you can't get rid of the physical suffering. You have a body, you have created a body already. So until you die, you have to suffer with regards to your body. But the mental suffering you can get rid of when you become enlightened. The bodily suffering, you have to become parinibbana. When you become, when you die after becoming enlightened. Sopadisesa nibbana, anupadisesa nibbana. So when you become anupadisesa nibbana is when you pass away after becoming enlightened. Sopadisesa nibbana is you become enlightened but you're still living. So until you die, you still have a suffering to do with the physical body, but the mental suffering is finished. That is what the two are. So that is also something that is good to know. So do you have any questions? So this Karmasthana, I'm pretty sure it will be helpful. It is very helpful for me, and a few people said it's very good. So I decided to explain that. If I can, I will do this Karmasthana on YouTube and share with you guys as well on top of this. But any other questions? Yeah, I can actually do a text when I do the YouTube video. I think it will be helpful because otherwise you wouldn't know. It will be my own words though, because I have changed it a little bit. I have edited it. Abhay Thero used a Karmasthana similar to this, but it's not the same. But I have changed it in a way so that I get the real feel. So that is what you need to do, because it's the feel that you need to get into in order to get to the dhyana. So for you to get the feel, it doesn't matter what you say. So as long as you get the feel out of it, whatever you're saying, then that is what you need to be saying. So that is what I'm doing. So I make it that way. So that's why I have edited it. I'm going to add anicca dukkha anatta to it as well, and nicca sukha atta to it, and then it'll be better, I think. So any other questions?